We'll go ahead and call to order the March 4th meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Tracy, take roll.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Ahern,
Here.
Bathke, Janezer,
Here.
Heisler, Ward,
Here.
Willer,
Here.
Yadi.
Here. All right, item number 3 is approval of the agenda, and before we approve the agenda for today, item number 8 on the agenda, which is public hearing on zoning map amendment, we're going to look for a motion to table this item. Do we have a motion?
I move to table number 7 on the agenda.
You want to read that?
Oh, there it is. Wait a minute.
There may be a discrepancy. The packet that I have,
Yeah.
there's a revised packet. Does the revised packet have?
Yeah, the revised packet has it as 7, I think. That's what I'm seeing.
And so,
That's what I'm seeing here.
so you would need a number, so you
Okay.
need a second for your motion, Mr. Willer.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Great.
And then a simple voice vote.
Okay. Can we have a vote, please? A roll call vote, please?
Nope, it's just a voice
Voice
vote.
vote.
All in
Oh,
favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Got through that part.
And now a motion.
So now we need a motion to approve the
Yes, please.
agenda.
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to item number 4, which is public comment. Nope. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5, which is a preliminary site plan. We'll start with a staff presentation.
Okay, so this is a request of Quick Trip Inc. to approve a preliminary site plan for just over a 9,000 square foot retail building and fueling station, just over over 2 acres. It's on South Dubuque Street, just east of North Liberty Road, across from the high school. You can been seeing lots of activity over in that area related to the construction of the subdivision improvements. You can see the area in blue up there. And the light blue line is actually the corporate limits of North Liberty. So it's right on, pretty close to the southern limit of the corporate boundary. Property is zoned C3, which is higher intensity commercial. Future land use map designation is urban high intensity, so the zoning is consistent with the future land use map designation. Pretty straightforward request. We did work closely with Quick Trip folks. We had some concerns with the original layout, so they've been great to work through. There's a private road on the left, which would be the west side. So they've got access over in that location. The street to the east or on the right-hand side is a public street that will be constructed in conjunction with the subdivision. But just had some concerns with them, so they responded to those and revised their site plan accordingly. So we appreciate them working with us. But generally, you see how it lays out there. Here's the subdivision, or the landscaping plan. Be well landscaped per our code. And then some renderings. They have deleted the car wash, so you won't see that with this development. And then the fueling station as well. So again, great to work with. This will be an anchor in our community for several years. I think they see the potential of this area and that this is a long-term hold for them. So we did find that the preliminary site plan achieves consistency with approval standards. And we recommend the Planning Commission accept that listed finding and forward the request to City Council with a recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Great. Do we have an applicant presentation?
Hi, my name is Casey Bonger. I'm a real estate manager for Quick Trip and Quick Star. Thank you for reviewing our site plan tonight, and just want to say thank you to Ryan. Great to work with. As he had mentioned, we worked through a few iterations of the site plan and I think came to one that works well for both parties. So he went over kind of everything related to that site. It is our Generation 3 building, which is similar to the existing location in North Liberty. And we did have to take off the car wash here just due to grades on the southwest corner of the property. So otherwise, I don't think I have anything further unless you have any questions.
Okay, do we have any public comment? Great. Move on to any questions or comments.
Does Free Rain Lane, does that exist now?
No. There's a private drive that comes in, but that'll be a public street. And good question about timing of these. We're able to approve the preliminary site plan at this point, but we cannot approve the construction site plan until these improvements are in and the lot's been platted. So by the time you'll see construction going, that street will be in.
Oh, okay. So Quick Star won't be dependent on the private drive on the left that is relatively close to the roundabout, but
It is. It'll be one of their accesses, and that'll be shared with the property to the west at the corner, which really is restricted in access. That'll be, this one, and then there'll be another one on North Liberty Road. But that's something we looked at. We looked at that as primarily a secondary access, but it'll be east of the roundabout kind of improvements.
okay, thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move that the planning commission accept the listed finding and forward the preliminary site plan to the city council with a recommendation for approval.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second that motion.
And can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yadi,
Aye.
Janizer,
Aye.
Ahern,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Willer.
Aye.
Okay, great. Moving on to item number 5, preliminary subdivision plat. We'll start with a staff presentation.
Okay, so this is a preliminary subdivision plat for a 3-lot subdivision, 2.53 acres. It is on the north side of a future street, approximately 680 feet west of South Jones Boulevard. This kind of gives you can kind of see the area in the middle. It's highlighted kind of in the cross hatching, but zoned RS4. This is an interesting kind of area in the city. There's many properties are in the county, but we've had a few people that have annexed into the city. There's actually a small 50-foot strip of land that the applicant owns that needs to maintain connection to the county properties. But with Remley Street being constructed with the adjacent development to the south, the applicant's taking the opportunity to be able to subdivide the lots, having frontage on that lot. So property is zoned RS4. That was rezoned a couple years ago. Future land use map designation is urban low intensity, so zoning is consistent with the land use. And here's the subdivision plat. The existing improvements in the lot would be on the larger lot, which would be lot 1. And then you see the 2 smaller lots toward the east on lots 1 and 2. Pretty straightforward request. We have 2 findings that the subdivision would achieve consistency with future land use map, and the subdivision plat would achieve consistency with subdivision ordinance standards. And the staff recommends you accept those 2 listed findings and forward to the request of the city council with a recommendation for approval. Thanks.
Okay, do we have an applicant presentation?
Good evening, John Marner with MMS Consultants representing the applicant. Nothing really to add, just as Russ pointed out, effort by the owner to take advantage and coordinate this subdivision with the ongoing construction for the subdivision immediately to the south. And I am available for any questions if you have any.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any public comments? Great, any questions or comments?
No, I don't have any.
Yeah,
Straightforward one.
okay. Do we have a motion?
move that the Planning Commission accept the 2 listed findings and forward the preliminary subdivision plat to the City Council with a recommendation for approval.
And a second?
I'll second.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Ward,
Aye.
Willer,
Aye.
Yadi,
Aye.
Janizer,
Aye.
Ahern.
Aye.
Okay, great. Moving on to item number 6, public hearing on zoning map amendment. We'll start with a staff presentation.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just a point of order. Didn't we move item 7 to item 4? Was there a motion? Wasn't that we're changing the agenda?
Tabled it.
Table it. Oh, but was there a motion to table it, or was it a motion to reorder it? I'm sorry if I'm
Motion was to table.
I thought we were tabling.
great. So I'm so sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Thank you. I apologize. Please continue. Number 6.
Yeah, no problem. We'll start with a staff presentation for item number 6.
Okay, so this is request by Dover Development, and this is a 2-part request. So the first one is a comprehensive plan future land use amendment from urban medium intensity to high intensity, and then a rezoning from RM12, which is multi-unit residence, to RM21 with the same name. Just permits a higher density on 9.18 acres. Property is located on the north side of West Forever Green, just east of South Kansas. We've been working with the applicant over the past several months. Again, very responsive, very great to work with. This is a pretty large development. You can kind of see it here with the current zoning RM12, and the land use is the urban medium intensity. Having knowledge of adopting the comprehensive plan, although Forever Green Road is a major arterial road and high intensity land use would be appropriate. At the time, the property was just owned RM12, and we just assigned the urban medium intensity to align with that. We do think, especially with the corner being urban high intensity and then a recent amendment to the east, the urban high intensity, it makes sense along this. I do like the opportunities to kind of have applicants come in with requests that we can just look at them, talk about them, and just see, if what they're proposing would be appropriate. I think that just gives us a better position to advocate for what we think is appropriate along that corridor. So this is just a concept only. The preliminary site plan is going to come back to you on the 1st. Again, they've been really good to work with. One of the concerns I had, if you look to the west, let me go back up here. You can kind of see the road stub to the north that runs parallel to Kansas to the east. That's Julia Drive. Part of this proposal has Julia Drive extending due south to connect to Forever Green Road. That's something we talked about a lot. It's somewhat close to the intersection of Kansas, so we were concerned about it being a full intersection and having all kinds of turning movements here. Not a problem now, but who knows how things will look along that corridor in 20 years, and then you're trying to scramble to fix a problem. So we agreed that this could be limited an access to a right in, right out. It would be designed like a full access. We would just have the developer build a median in Forever Green Road that essentially prohibits that be left in and left out. So you can kind of see that road going north-south on the west, or the left side of their development. You could see it's a pretty large building. It's 133 units. That equates to just under 15 units to the acre. One of the concerns I had, Forever Green's obviously a gateway in our community. And so I was a little bit concerned about the scale of the building to make sure it reflected what our built environment is. Again, they were really great to work with. They were responsive to some of the concerns I had. Again, you'll see these in a month, but higher levels of masonry on the east, south, and west. In the RM12, in the RM21, it's only 25% on elevations facing a street, which would be the south and west. They're much higher than that. They're closer to like 50, 60% on those elevations. And I think, can I advocate for masonry on a house? it looks nice, but it's not that big of a deal because the scale of the building's not that big. When you get into these larger buildings, it really starts to become important because these are just, they make a big dramatic impact on our community. So also the use, this isn't a high traffic use. There's definitely a need for it in our community. So it's a good location where you're not going to have tons of cars trying to get in and out of this location. So we do think the urban high intensity is appropriate in this location. We also think that the RN21 zoning also would be appropriate. It's a good location for it. Here's some renderings of what it would look like. So it's a very nice looking building. I think it's going to fit great along that corridor. And again, there's just a big need, and I know the folks over at Dover are going to talk about that in a second. So we did have two findings. The one was related to the future land use map amendment, and then the second one being, there's a typo in there, my apologies, that the rezoning would be consistent with approval standards. And so staff recommends you accept those two findings and forward those two requests to the City Council with a recommendation for approval. Thank you.
Great. Do we have an applicant presentation?
Hi, I'm Nick Dwyer with Dover Development, the applicant. Thanks, Ryan, for the presentation. Ryan's been really good to work with. Just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on us. So we're based in St. Louis, Missouri. This will be our first project in Iowa. We are a developer, owner, operator of senior housing communities across the Midwest. So we're really excited to kick things off here in our Iowa expansion in North Liberty. We know there's definitely some compelling demographics, just the growth here, especially in the senior population. And I think this will be sort of the first of its kind to serve the seniors here in North Liberty and the surrounding areas. So you can kind of see that rendering that Ryan had earlier was a building that we're getting ready to open in a suburb of St. Louis that's very similar to North Liberty, Wentzville, Missouri. And the project will open next month, and it's pre-leasing very well, and it's been very well received. So we're hoping to do the same thing here. And some of those demographics that I'm speaking to, age 65 plus population growth, nearly 20% over the next 5 years. The adult children, who are the decision makers usually in this instance, growing at similar rates. These are all things that we take into account, and so we think this project will be really, really well received, and there's a huge need for it here. Can I just click through here? And then just to, kind of some details on the project, like Ryan mentioned, 133 total units. It's a mix of 2 and 3 stories, about 140,000 square feet. It'll have a full continuum of care, so seniors kind of across the spectrum in terms of their age and their needs. So it'll have independent living apartments for more independent seniors who might not necessarily need care, but want to be in a kind of carefree, maintenance-free lifestyle with meals and services and activities. And then they can progress to assisted living, where you're getting assistance with your activities of daily living, on top of everything that an independent living resident would get. They're all private apartments, 1 and 2 bedrooms, high-end finishes, a lot of really kind of intentional and thought out common area spaces, restaurant style dining. So the building is really nice. And, it was exciting to see the similar project here in St. Louis last week that's getting ready to open and see the finished product. So, and then we also have memory care for folks who are suffering from Alzheimer's and other kind of dementias, and have specialized staff to take care of those folks as well. So it's a large investment, bringing a lot of jobs, healthcare jobs, and hopefully use a lot of local subcontractors too. So excited about the project and happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any public comment? Great. Any questions or comments?
So I was just curious, I've seen quite a few of these senior living projects. Just curious, is there going to be underground parking?
There will not. No, it'll all be surface parked. I believe we're well over the requirement.
Okay.
And as Ryan kind of alluded to, not many of these folks will be driving. So the main traffic will just be staff and visitors.
Okay.
And then we'll also have a shuttle on site that will take groups out to, go shopping, go to restaurants. And then we'll also have a private car that staff can take residents to doctor's appointments or any sort of kind of one-off trip as well. So we really try to limit the residents from driving just due to their age. And, when people do go out, it's usually kind of in a controlled environment with one of our own vehicles. So.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate the right in, right out
Thank you.
onto the site. Because Forever Green is just going to get busier and busier,
Yeah.
especially with the hospital opening in 2 months now.
Yeah, we saw it tonight. It was a lot of traffic.
Yeah. It is. So thank you very much for that.
Sure.
Any other comments?
Okay, just so I'm clear, so access from the west then will come in off of Harlan to the north and down Julia. Is that, okay?
Yep. So let's see here. Yeah, that's a good point. So the developer of the overall development has committed to constructing Julia and then Harlan to the west to connect up to Kansas. So those improvements would be constructed basically in conjunction with this development. It'd be like you could kind of look up. I don't know if I could do this on the screen, but no, it's not gonna.
Any other questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
I move that the Planning Commission accept the listed findings and forward the future land use map amendment, am I on the right one? And zoning map amendment to the City Council with a recommendation for approval.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
And can we have a roll call vote, please?
Ward,
Aye.
Janizer,
Aye.
Willer,
Aye.
Ahern,
Aye.
Yadi.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so moving on to our new item 7, which is approval of the previous minutes. Do we have a motion
I'll move to approve the previous minutes.
and a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. All right, moving on to our next item, old business.
I just put old and new business probably together, but I think I committed a little bit ago about some stats. We track annual permits, and if you could see it on the screen, we kind of look at what kind of permits are we issuing year over year. So 2024 was a little surprising to me. We were about 50-50-50 with single family, zero lot line or duplex and townhouse. I would have thought the single family would have been down, but it was pretty even. So about 150 residential permits per year. It usually goes up or down depending on when the multifamily projects jump in there. So the previous year we had like 300 because the Emory at North Liberty had permitted all of those units, and then you end up the next year having 0. So it usually those permit like every other year or every 2 years. And then we recently just go through and look at the number of certificates of occupancy that we've issued, and then we match up, and that gives you an idea of the breakdown that we have of the types of units that we have. So you've got the single family and townhouse, just gives you an idea of the overall breakdown of units. I know in the past there have been discussions about, are we getting out of balance in one category or the other? We've got a pretty healthy mix, and I don't think we're out of balance with those. So, and this just gives you an idea of how we track. We count all of the housing units, and then we look at the census data for household size, which is 2.59. We look at the vacancy rate, and that gives us pretty close. We're about 23,000 people, a little over. Our 2020 census was 20,479. So over the past couple of years, that equals that we're growing at about. We estimated about 3.5. Looks like we're a little lower than that, about 2.75%. But that's how we get it done. So we are growing. We're fortunate. We'll see the economy goes here in the next couple of years. But committed to providing that, so I just wanted to give that to you, and I'll provide that data in our background reports when we do more residential development. You saw hopefully saw the Good Neighbor meeting for 150-acre development down on Dubuque Street. So we're actually going to have, I think that's in Barry's backyard there.
Side yard.
Yeah. So we're going to have actually two Good Neighbor meetings with that. We're going to do one in person. That will be next week. And then a week before the Planning Commission meeting, we'll do a online one. We decided to break them up into east side, west side. We figured, some people might be concerned about what's happening on the west side, not care about the east side, and vice versa. But it's a really large request, probably the biggest one I've done since I've been here. And just, we're quite unsure that if these property owners were ever going to sell. And so Watts Development Group is the one who has it under contract. And so far it looks like a similar mix to what we saw in the preserve. And we really like the preserve. So more to come on that. Thanks.
I wouldn't have guessed that 96% is our occupied housing.
We're pretty high. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're pretty high in this community. You go to some other communities, like I lived in Davenport, and the vacancy rates, I wouldn't say dramatically higher, but it is. And the concern with older communities, like I said in Davenport, is when they're tearing down houses, it doesn't necessarily equate to more population because they're tearing down and maybe an old vacant house, and then it gets replaced by something newer. So, yeah, being a newer community with lots of our housing stock is in really good shape. We just tend to have a very low vacancy rate.
Great. Okay. So do we need to talk about new business, or we can just skip that?
Nope,
Right.
that's good.
Great.
Talked enough.
Okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting
I'll move to adjourn.
and a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, meeting adjourned.